Hey there, Jordan Chariton live. It is Tuesday, May 10th, the year 2022. Hope everybody is having a good time and a safe time in the United Corporations of America. I was recently on the road with Colin, back at it here at home, and already thinking about some other stories we could be covering on the road, and as well as investigative stories back in my studio today. You might not know, but when you're traveling as much as we do, it can become difficult behind the scenes. You got to quarantine from family members if you've been exposed, this and that. So over the weekend, unfortunately, I was exposed to family members who have now tested positive for COVID. I tested negative this morning, so that's good. I'm going to keep testing myself because obviously you could test negative for a couple days before it turns positive. But at the moment, kind of keeping my distance from my wifey who is immunocompromised, and I obviously don't want to be near her just in case I test positive. So I might be in my studio some of the time or in a hotel I've been staying at. But I am delighted to be joined by the one and only Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives, with like a real, I don't know, like high at a fish concert background.
Yes, electric blue, man.
Yeah, I love
electric
it. Man, let me get my doobie out.
Yeah.
Steve, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. What's been going on?
You were gone. I got lonely, so I drifted. I'm sorry. My eyes wandered to the NFL draft and things like that. I felt like a bad guy, so I'm confessing that I cheated on you a little bit there. I did watch a few of the live streams. How could I miss them? But I did stray. I can't lie. I strayed a little bit, and I watched a little teeny bit of the Washington Commanders. So what can I say? Glutton for punishment.
Awesome. Smash that like button, share this live stream. More people that press like, share, all that good stuff. Super chats are welcome. Steve, I know you're itching for inflation, but I have to start. Well, you're not itching for inflation. To talk about
I'm itching from inflation.
Yes, to talk about Biden's baloney and the rainbows and sunshine speech he gave today. But I want to start because I predicted this, and I think that I don't know if Amazon has sent out the bat signal to its ghouls at CNBC, but after Amazon historic victory at the JFK warehouse that we covered every step of the way, they had a setback in the second election. They lost by 300 votes to unionize that second warehouse. That second warehouse, only 1,600 workers, and I'd say 40-50% are part-time. So it made it difficult to unionize that specific warehouse. 900 of 1,600 workers voted. So a lot of workers didn't vote in that union election. And part-time workers are more open to threats and union busting because they're part-time and, they obviously want to be full-time in most cases. So they are more susceptible to all the union busting Amazon was giving. But it was interesting because I said, people asked me, what next, Jordan? Everyone was excited after the first Amazon victory. And I said, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but I would not put it past Amazon to just shut down this warehouse as a sign, as a signal. Hey, you want to unionize? Good for you. We don't need this warehouse open. They haven't done that yet. However, I predicted, don't be surprised if they do. And now Jim Cramer, famously wrong pretty much about everything when it comes to the economy on CNBC, he, not even subtly, pretty clearly called for Amazon to basically shut down the Staten Island warehouse. But before that, I want to take you through the months of Jim Cramer because there's a few clips that will show the evolution. Colin, if we could show the first clip, I think this was from March, where Jim Cramer on CNBC was, I don't know, he was having like a come to Jesus moment where he actually understood if you treat workers well, that's good for profits. Can we play that, Colin?
Back to a key point, which is wages. Maybe we don't talk about it enough. Average wage at Walmart's now $16.40.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember?
Wait, are you going to tell me that's low?
I'm not going to tell you that's low. I'm going to tell you it's up dramatically from what it used to be.
Because maybe What do the CEOs make in this country?
All right. Oh, look at you. What are you? Now I'm with Elizabeth Warren?
Trotsky believed
You
that the
became Bernie
workers' one
Sanders?
means of production.
I never figured you out.
When I was a member of the Socialist Workers League in college, I had a little insight that maybe the workers don't make enough. Now they're finally getting their
starting is
due,
15
and we're
to
upset.
24. Amazon's 18 average. My point is they've moved up a lot.
Good.
Jim. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad.
And now if we can keep prices steady,
Yes.
and wages go up, purchasing
Inflation
power.
is
No, look, can I just
But
say?
how long did we sit here? How long did many politicians, of course, on the left say this is egregious, this is ridiculous? Bernie Sanders still perhaps says the same, but they have moved up.
What's the number one performing
retail? I can
retail?
remember when we were
What's the number
arguing
one
with
performing
Walmart, $10 an hour.
Okay, what's
average.
the number one performing retail on any 5, 10, 15, 20-year basis? What? What's the number one?
Amazon.
Costco.
Oh.
What's the number one?
Really?
What? Yes.
Well, pure retail.
What is the number one best
And they pay-
wages of
Costco.
anybody?
Costco.
Who gives
Costco.
full dental?
Costco.
Who gives eye and ear?
Costco.
Right. So who's the most profitable? Costco. So let me just tell you that maybe you need to manage better. Jim Sinegal once told me the secret to why Costco is the most lucrative retailer in the world is because they pay their money, pay their people.
they don't
the
have the
most.
turnover.
So therefore, they have no turnover. So then, remember what dead weight is. I used to do this at Goldman. Training. You train a person. So anyway, look,
Wow. So that was in March. Jim Cramer snorted some, I don't know, crystals or something, progressive juju, because he seemed to understand, oh, you pay your workers a lot, good benefits, you'll have pretty low turnover and great productivity. So I don't really know what changed from now to then. Let's now play after that, after Amazon's historic union victory. He was not happy. This was like a month after that come to Jesus moment.
we know that the union work rules are what everything is about. It's the same case with Starbucks, too. If you can't tell your employees when they work, then you're really not able to have much of an ability to be able to move product or move coffee. And I think that the unions will be in charge of time that you need to work. And that would be dreadful very dreadful for Andy Jassy.
And that's just a U.S. picture, right?
Yeah.
They got Europe to think about as well.
You know, look, one of the problems was, Starbucks does indeed have unionized places in the ones that they franchise. But if you can't control the work rules, no one wants to work certain shifts. So you can just say, listen, I'm not going to work that shift. And Amazon would not be able to say, yes, you must work it. So that's what at stake with union is time that you have to work.
Right.
Our thanks to Dee. We're going to watch develop.
That's the biggest risk, according to Jim Cramer. Christian Smalls would be setting your schedule. And that's the only concern workers have, their shifts. So then let's take it full circle. This was this morning where he was responding to in a segment that I guess Amazon is looking to lay off workers. They hired so many extra workers during the pandemic because of the demand. And now that the pandemic is air quotes over, which it's not, now Amazon is looking to, cut the workforce. And this was Jim Cramer's brilliant idea.
Performer. The issue here is they're out of warehouse space, David. They need it. They are out of warehouse space, but they do have Amazon. So where does Jassy pull back from, David, if he has too many? Certainly maybe Staten Island. That sounds going there, well. David. David's pro-union.
Yeah, no, I don't know where they pull back from.
Did you hear that, Bumble? He said, oh, because that's going really well. Because they're pro-union. So here you have, he's not hiding it, even though he mumbled it. He is saying, okay, you got to cut the workforce, meaning shut down some warehouses. Why don't you start in the one that historically beat you, Jeff, and cut this nearly 8,000 worker warehouse, which obviously would be a signal to anyone else getting any funny ideas about unionizing. Don't even think about it.
What's terrifying is that it's quite clear that he hasn't read the Guardian piece. I sent you it in private chat if you feel like pulling this thing up. There's a graph in there that shows that Amazon has made 333% profit over the last 2 years. 333%. What exactly is unionizing causing them? I mean, they're not losing, but they're one of the top earners during this. There's a bunch of others, but it's in the Guardian. If people haven't checked it out, do check this out, because if you scroll down into this thing, it is absolutely mind-blowing. If you go down a little bit further, there's an actual graph. There it is. Shows the percentage. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, there's another one. The steel. It's just insane. These guys are gouging the living shit out of us. I mean, like, we're talking about, like, they're not even hiding it. And yet you've got this guy Kramer out there suddenly saying this on the heels of this. Somebody gotten him. Somebody told him this is what you're going to say. Because you clearly see, I mean, somebody's handling him. This isn't just off the cuff live stream. I mean, that's ridiculous.
And by the way,
ridiculous.
While Kramer is floating this, because like CNBC and these companies basically work hand in hand. CNBC, it's no different than CNN for government officials. CNBC is just PR for corporate America in the guise of news. But as Jim Cramer, who was wrong about the financial crash, he's been wrong about pretty much everything. As Jim Cramer was floating, shut down the unionized warehouse, Amazon is now firing some of those unionized workers, which is another thing I predicted, unfortunately. If you could show the New York Times story, Colin. Amazon abruptly fires senior managers tied to unionized warehouse. Gotta love the New York Times, tied to unionized. No, Amazon abruptly fires 2 unionized workers in Staten Island. Unbelievable. After Amazon employees at a massive warehouse on Staten Island scored an upset victory last month, it turned the union's leaders into celebrities, sent shockwaves through the broader labor movement, and prompted politicians around the country to rally behind the workers. I wouldn't say they're rallying, but anyway. Now it all appears to have created fallout within Amazon's management ranks. On Thursday, Amazon informed more than half a dozen senior managers involved with the Staten Island warehouse that they were being fired, said 4 current and former employees with knowledge of the situation who spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation. The firing, which occurred outside the company's typical employee review cycle, were seen by managers and other people who work at the facility as a response to the victory by the Amazon labor union. 3 of the people said. Workers at the warehouse voted by a wide margin to form the first union at the company in the United States. So let's be clear, Steve. Not only has Amazon fired workers while they were trying to unionize here, and one of them, Gerald Bryson, just got his job back and retroactive pay for 2 years because he was illegally fired. Now Amazon is firing the managers who were doing the union busting. So Amazon is literally filing managers who were the ones carrying out Amazon's union busting tactics, taking union pamphlets from the break room, which is illegal, threatening workers not to talk about the union at work, threatening them that they might have their hours cut, other things if they unionize. Amazon is now firing those managers for not successfully union busting. So you get it both ends here. If you're an Amazon manager, by the way, most of them white. That's a common thing at Amazon. They don't have many black and brown managers. It's basically a lose-lose because you have to sell your soul and carry out their wishes of union busting. And if you lose and the workers win, you're going to be held responsible too. So it's quite the twist. So you got Jim Cramer putting out trial balloons, shut down this warehouse. And make no mistake about it, this warehouse at Staten Island is very important for Amazon. New York, the tri-state area, is its biggest area of productivity and orders, specifically New York City. So you would think they can't really afford to shut down this massive warehouse. Yeah, but they can. They could shut it down, start putting out the bids for another big urban city, and they'll have governors and local politicians prostituting themselves to get an Amazon warehouse. So I hope this doesn't happen, but let's be real, Steve. You and I have talked about this before. There's no criminal penalty for Amazon doing any of this. Only fines.
Yeah, well, the fired managers, it reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Enemy at the Gates, but there's a scene where Khrushchev is sitting there walking up and down through the lines of all the generals of Russia, and he's like, what do we do? And they're like, kill the frontline leaders and make he's like, every one of them stumbling over themselves to come up with a punishment for failing. And this just feels like that movie. If anybody's seen Enemy at the Gates, it's like a humorous moment. I could just see literally these Amazon line managers trembling in their shoes because they failed to stop the unionization process. It's just awful, but
absolutely,
there's only so much you can cry about them losing their job, unfortunately.
Absolutely. But I will say, bottom line, Steve, there's obviously, as we talk about all the time, there's a lot of differing opinions on the left. Dem enter, dem exit, fuck electoral politics. Let's just create a revolution, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, there's people taking there seems to be people very happy about taking victory laps that I told you Nina was going to lose, which I own. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than it was, which I did a video on. But to me, I'm not saying forget a third party, but right now the outside electoral politics action is here. It's in these workers, Amazon, Starbucks. Let's not forget all the workers striking, the coal miners in Alabama. They're going on a year that they've been on strike. And they're suffering down there. And a lot of them have had to take new jobs because they've been on strike for so long. But to me, this is where the action is. And you can't let up momentum. Sure, Amazon lost this second election. Okay, you're not gonna win every one. Starbucks actually, after winning the first one in Buffalo, they lost the second one. And with Amazon, no disrespect to Starbucks, it's going to be a lot harder to have a consecutive streak of wins because the warehouses are much bigger. And frankly, the union busting is a lot more fierce from what I've seen. Not that it's child's play at Starbucks, but to me, let's not make the mistake of Debbie Downer. We're gonna have a red wave we're gonna have a red wave in November, so we're not going to focus on the actual opportunity here, which is labor.
Yeah, I think it's very important to realize what the establishment does to us. If you look at what the establishment does to us, they keep our minds spinning. They keep us bouncing all over the place. And I think, quite frankly, the best way for us to keep their minds spinning all over the place is for us to not only support labor, but to remember all the other things that we've been fighting for and organize around those too, and become ungovernable, quite frankly, become a nuisance, become so much of a pain in their ass that they have to take notice of us. And not just here or over there, but all over the place, become completely and utterly activated, not for political purposes, but for our own purposes, to make the politicians pay attention to us, right? So the balance of electoralism and activism, I'm not so worried about the electoral politics right now. Quite frankly, I don't think we have enough time to build a third party. Get excited if you want. I can tell who understands climate crisis and who doesn't understand climate crisis by the timelines they project out all these grandiose ideas. I can always tell where their mind is not quite on the prize. But the other factor is that if we look at, we've got a lot of things going on. One of the most important things that we could do to help labor in this country is, in fact, to create energy for a Green New Deal with a job guarantee and a just transition. By doing that, you set the de facto floor that would make all this unionization process even more powerful, because people could opt out of those jobs and say, no problem. No problem. See you later. You don't want to pay me? That's okay. I'll go work in my local community for a living wage with benefits. Fuck you, and go, be gone. And it would take them to meet or beat that job guarantee wage. If we could fight and unite around larger issues, bigger issues that connect to each other, I think that's our way forward. I think that is the way that the non-electoral solutions I always refer to are making demands, not backing away from those demands, coming back and following through on those demands, and having wave after wave after wave of rolling activists' direct actions. Is it hard? Yes, but are we winning any other way? I don't see it. Show me another way. I don't see it. Dem enter, dem exit, whatever. 4 years ago, we were told 12 years with climate crisis from the IPCC. We're now looking at 8 years. And that's not to get a new third party elected and come up with some new grand strategy to elect only independents. That's to actually mitigate the climate crisis. So with our politics being FUBAR right now, the only way to force that forward is to take a page out of places like Extinction Rebellion and really, really seriously organize around this. Help support these unionization efforts, help support sustainability efforts, help support getting the message out there that we're done and we're not going to take it anymore. To me, that is the answer. And we need to get some damn politicians that are willing to be one-termers, people that really mean it when they say, hey, I don't need to get reelected. I'm here to make a difference. And during the campaigns, have people run for office that are willing to run a campaign that they know might lose, but will expose people to the information. We have to educate people, and that's what's missing. Most people, sadly, not us woke folks that are here in these great alt media chat rooms, but the other folks that don't pay attention, unless it's coming from a politician, unless it's coming from someone they see on TV telling them these things, they don't listen. So we need to have candidates that are activated and ready and willing to stand on a platform that may not succeed, but ultimately gets that information past the boob tube, past that blocker that has kept us from educating those couch potatoes that literally just pull the lever and think they've done their civic duty. We need way more than that. So This is fantastic news with the labor side, but it's only one tip of the iceberg. We have a bunch of tips that we've got to connect together. I believe.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Jordan.
Absolutely. And by the way, Elisa, who said, Elisa, I thought it was illegal. Yeah, a lot of things are technically illegal that apparently don't actually apply to Amazon, Walmart, Target, fast food chains, et cetera, et cetera. It technically, I think you're right that it is illegal after successful unionization to shut down a warehouse or a cafe or cut hours, but they've been doing it. Starbucks has been doing it. And illegal, okay, well, there's no criminal penalty. You ever see an oil company that has massive leaks or takes shortcuts in the construction process, poisons the water? You ever see anyone going to jail for that? You ever see anyone going to jail for tanking the financial fucking economy globally? Hell no. The worst that will happen is, I don't know, a couple $100 million fine. If, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, that hurts, but they'll make it up on the back end. So it should be illegal. But since we have no actual criminal laws against corporate corruption and crime, you see is what you get. Got 230 people watching. I need a lot more of you to press the like button. Smash that like button. Do it for Steve. It's right under the video. Share this live stream, and we will get to your super chats at the end. Steve, moving on. President Biden spoke today, fresh off of folding, by the way, on fighting for more COVID funding. The media might not be telling you folks, but we actually it's not like, oh, it's shit. The shit is coming in fall and winter. No, the shit is here. I think there's three separate variants spreading right now. I don't BA2, BA2.1. I don't even know what the fuck they are, but I can tell you all I'm seeing on Twitter is people posting their positive COVID tests, and the hospitalizations will go up. And one person's mild is another one's long COVID, because long COVID numbers are going up. And you and I have spoke about that could be the next healthcare crisis, because Johns Hopkins, for example, which has a long COVID clinic, they're saying literally people are having to wait 6 months for an appointment because they have so many patients now. So anyway, with that, Biden gave a speech today, I believe, knowing that really shitty numbers are coming out in a few days on inflation, worse than already. Let's take a listen to some of his speech, which is mostly blaming Republicans.
Decline in unemployment to start a presidential term ever recorded. And in addition, Americans have applied to start 5.4 million new small businesses last year, 20% more than any other year on record. And I see, and as I see it, everything across the country is, as I go across the country, our economy has gone from being on the mend to on the move. I know the families all across America are hurting because of inflation. I understand what it feels like. I come from a family where when the price of gas or food went up, we felt it. It was a discussion at the kitchen table. I want every American to know that I'm taking inflation very seriously, and it's my top domestic priority. Ukraine has 20 million tons of grain in storage in silos right now. They're trying to figure out how to get out of the country into market, which would reduce prices around the world. Normally we'd have already begun to export them into the market, but it hasn't because of Putin's invasion. As I said when I came to what Congress and the president can do to fight inflation, Americans have two potential paths forward. The first is my plan, the Democratic plan put forward by congressional Republicans as a second alternative. Here's how each of us would tackle inflation. My plan is to lower everyday costs for hardworking Americans, and lower the deficit by asking large corporations and the wealthiest Americans to not engage in price gouging and to pay their fair share in taxes.
Enough! Enough! I can't take it anymore, Steve.
I can't take it. It's the fucking stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard in my life.
Wait, Steve, can I just play Biden, who, by the way, seems to be having trouble staying awake? Let's be real. That was pretty low energy and other things. Steve, you are the CEO of, Walmart. Mr. Grumbine, would you please kindly, it would really help us out for the holiday Christmas party. If you please, kindly, I'm asking you, please stop price gouging. Will you do that for me? Thanks so much. No. Yeah. I'll see you at the Christmas party. Anyway, can you explain what's going on here? Because to me, trust me, the Republicans have been basically, obstructing government now, basically for 30 years since Gingrich and those tactics in the 90s. But I don't think it's Republicans that are the problem here with inflation.
Now, I want to be that guy that runs around with a baseball bat and just smashes things and just has a temper tantrum when I hear that crap. And it's got me so angry because the sad thing is,
just to be clear, YouTube, we are not talking about taking a bat to the president.
No, it's a proverbial.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's got me insane, though, because the facts are twofold, right? We had a supply chain issue, and we are still trying to catch up to that, period. That's number one. So there's the legitimate angle on inflation, that we had supply chain issues. We realized with globalism that supply chains were very frail. And now that we're in precarious times because these morons started a war by proxy, etc., now we're stuck with supply chains that are incomplete, broken at different places, and we're having to find different suppliers across the world. Okay, so we've got a supply chain issue. It's number one. Number two, this GHOUL is literally talking about reducing the deficit. Now, I want you to understand what a fucking moronic thing this is. How utterly worthless, feckless, useless, less than human this is. Okay, how subhuman, stupid this is. All right, by taking money out of the economy, he is literally ensuring that he kills the economy. This is what Bill Clinton did when he ushered in the first recession before Bush took office, and then carried forward to the global financial crisis that we went through in the great financial crisis of 07-08. Though some partisans out there still fantasize that it was all W, I hate to break it to you, that was all Brother Bill, and it was all doing the stupid ass shit that Biden is doing right now. $1.3 trillion in deficit reduction is literally $1.3 trillion in money that has been deleted from the economy. Okay, so there's the first thing. The second thing is this: when you want to create an economy that operates well within this supply chain, what do? Do you cut spending? No. Cutting spending literally shrinks GDP. What you do is you target your spending to increase production. China haters be damned. China had a One Belt, One Road initiative. They have fattened up the supply chains. They have ensured they have good ways to get goods and services through their entire apparatus, their network, their sales network that they have created. Very, very vital to their production in China. We instead of being like even clued in the slightest bit, this fucking idiot, this moron, this neo-Marxism dweeby, This jackass is talking about reducing the deficit. Now, because a lot of people out there, really bad people, have conditioned most of us to think that the government needs to save money. That's why you hear a lot of idiots talking about, well, we reduced the spending on the military and we can afford things. Has nothing to do with it. Government creates money every single time it spends. That's where all the money's coming from that we're giving to Ukraine right now. We certainly didn't tax you higher to get money for Ukraine, did we? Not a single penny came from you. Okay, so Biden knows this. He's been hearing this from people that matter for a long, long time. This is about disciplining you and I because the masters above want to be able to watch us suffer. And what happens once we start suffering? We start losing our homes. Remember that? 2008, 2009, we start losing our homes. And who comes behind us and buys these houses at auction? And then in turn rents them out at 200% more than what they were being paid for as purchased properties. That would be BlackRock and others. This is the plan, folks. Get used to it. Until you get it through your head that deficit reduction is a fucking loser's proposition. It is a worthless idea. Anyone that stands for it is pushing austerity, and austerity is murder. So anybody, and I'm sorry, this is to my MMT friends as well. If you play patty cake with people that are literally committing murder through austerity, I got no use for you. We have got to stop treating murder by proxy and murder by policy through deficit reduction as just some sort of difference of opinion. You wouldn't call it difference of opinion if I held a Glock up. You wouldn't consider that. You would consider that violence. You would consider that murder. But when you strip away the economy of its money, when you take away the money from the people, okay, and then they start losing everything, including taking choices about not getting their health taken care of because they're afraid they'll get another deductible, and all of a sudden they die. These are real life deaths called social murder. And there's a great study in the UK. Look it up. Austerity is social murder, and find out more about it. If you don't believe me, find out from the experts, because you maybe don't believe that I know what I'm talking about. That's fine. Go find out for yourself. But in the meantime, though, if you hear Biden ever say something about it's good because we're going to reduce the deficit, know that man is your enemy. He is not your friend. And anybody that advocates for reducing the deficit, I don't care who they are, is not your friend. They are literally a murderer by policy, a murderer by proxy. And anyone who wants to tee with the pinky out and fucking dull that down, you're no better. You're helping. You're an accessory to murder. If you're one of those people that, oh, we can say this more gently. To hell with that. The people dying didn't get it done gently. They didn't get to feel it gently. And they didn't get to die slowly and softly and quietly and peacefully. They fucking died because of austerity. And that means that you deficit hounds, you folks out there pushing deficit reduction, are murdering people. Murdering, not just differing opinions, murdering. And that's what's going down right here, folks. Get ready, because it's going to be a very, very yucky winter with deficit reduction and the Fed jacking up interest rates. Folks, when they jack up interest rates, what they're doing is jacking up the initial rate for interbank dollars, the overnight window, okay? So the cost of money to clear payments in the system, okay, behind the scenes, you never see this, goes up. Whatever point. But then the next person that gets those dollars, what do? They then go ahead and add an additional margin on it. And then the next one adds additional margin. And before long, this is what creates inflation. They would need to jack interest rates up to 20% or more to be able to have the kind of effect on the economy that they would want to have. And if they wanted to, they would be killing the economy. Think back to Paul Volcker back in the 70s during the OPEC crisis, okay? This is what these dipshits are doing right here, right now. And the only people that win are the people at the top, because those interest payments go to them. You and I, we just pay more. This is the stupidest fucking thing in the world. And that, my friends, is your Democratic Party. And sadly, most of your elected representatives or candidates running for office don't understand this shit. So they will be patsies for this garbage. And this, my friends, will kill you. I promise. No joke. Very serious.
I don't want to take away from the seriousness, but I really want to get high. I really want to get high later and watch that 2.5 minute monologue with the blue stars behind you, because that was fire. So if I'm able to get into a higher state, plus with like the Starship Galactica behind you,
Yes,
man, that could be really good. But there's also another point. There's also another point. And Colin's in the chat. He could tell you I might have toked once or twice on the road. And boy, am I a much more fun person to be around. But there's another point here. In addition to all the MMT you were just spinning, Biden, how he kindly asked and kind of subtly mentioned, companies, when price gouging. Why do you think he's not going to actually do anything? Because there are actual tools in the toolbox that the president, Congress can use to penalize companies that are price gouging. Why do you think he's not going to do anything? But besides the fact that we live in the United Corporations of America, because they desperately need their money for the next 4 or 5 months for the midterms. Senate campaigns, House campaigns, governorships, state assembly, you name it. They're prostituting. I mean, they're always prostituting themselves, but specifically now, it's an arms race between the DNC, the RNC, the DCCC, the N triple, whatever, and they can't do anything to their donors on price gouging because their whole homeostasis is hoarding money and selling government to these donors. So in addition to what you just explained about the Fed and the interest rates, overnight, this and that, it's as much corruption too. Because you want to know something?
It's all corruption.
JFK in the 1960s, he went to war with U.S. Steel. For you kids that don't know your history, you kids, I'm only 35. But he very publicly not only said to Amazon, Amazon, we're coming for you, like Biden said, while then giving Amazon another fucking $10 billion contract. Yeah, we're coming for you, Amazon. Here's another contract. No, JFK literally said, I'm going to tax the fuck out of you, U.S. Steel, or we're going to take away your subsidies, this and that. U.S. Steel brought down prices in 5 minutes. That's how it's done. But back then, not that JFK, was, total. I mean, they did steal the election in 1960. Excuse me, YouTube. I'm talking about 1960, not 2020. To be clear, I have to self-censor because of YouTube. Obviously, we know Democratic Party machine, that election was interesting in 1960. But the point is, JFK actually, showed some spine and took on the corporations, and they backed down. Biden could do the same thing. And you want to know something? He might actually rally the base that way. He might excite people if prices come down, but the Democrats don't want that because then their donations start drying up.
Yeah. I mean, look, there was a super chat up there a couple minutes ago, and I want to, if you wouldn't mind, I want to address this. It was a $5 super chat from, let me see if I can pull his name up here.
There you go.
Quick. Yes. Question for Steve. Is it still murder if the deficit is reduced by raising taxes on the rich, stock trades, or a wealth tax? Look, the bottom line here is that taxes are deleted. So all you're doing is getting at them. The fact is that you're not helping the other people, right? Yes, you can, if you have a substantive tax that literally attacks, targeted tax towards them that they can't pass on to you, okay? That they can't pass on through higher prices, through more gouging, through other means, okay? These taxes, they don't just sit there and go to see. These people pull out. They hide their money. They do all kinds of stuff, okay? Should we tax the rich? Yes, absolutely we should, okay? The problem is that if you don't backfill that spending towards the people, if all you're doing is taxing, but you're not literally spending, you're literally depleting the tub. And what you end up doing is decreasing GDP, which then in turn creates recessions. And then the markets react, and then all the other downstream things start happening. Not because there's some God-breathed thing, but because these are things that people have been cued to cue off of. And so the herd does these things in the market. The market is nothing but an after effect. It's not the real economy. The real economy is you and I working and stuff like that. This is the fire sector, finance. We could wipe out finance. I see no reason to have finance, quite frankly. I mean, I just to go full draconian, I think that we should not even have that. But with the reason that we do have it, the fact is that you're not actually giving little people anything. What you're doing is you're over here attacking this instead of helping them. I oftentimes tell people, hey, look, if you're in the desert, you have a gun over here that you can shoot the person that left you in the desert, or you can get that glass of water and drink a glass of water. Which one are you taking? Okay. Now, if I take that glass of water and I can walk the rest of the way across the desert and get out of there, probably better off to take the glass of water. Unfortunately, most reactionaries will grab the gun instead, and then they'll die in the desert too. And that's the problem with that strategy, that mindset. So is it murder? You tell me.
Moving on from one corrupt, dubious individual to two more. Megyn Kelly back at it, this time with Piers Morgan. And keep those super chats coming. I'm going to read them at the end. Megyn Kelly, Piers Morgan, they apparently really have a problem with the violent terrorism going on with women and their male allies protesting outside Supreme Court justices. Before we get to Megyn and Piers, two peas in a pod, let's show you some of the coverage. This is footage we got last night outside of Justice Alito's home. Some of the protests that were going on. Let's play a little bit.
No say. No uterus. No say. No uterus. No say. No uterus. No say. Alito says post through. We say hell no. Alito says post through. We say hell no. Alito says post through. We say hell no. Fuck the courts and the legislature. We are not your incubators. Fuck the courts and the legislature. We are not your incubators.
In Supreme Court Justice Alito's leaked draft, he cites Sir Matthew Hale. Hale describes abortion of a quick child who died in the womb of a great crime, a great misprision. For context, but for those who don't know, Matthew Hale was a 17th century jurist who conceived the notion that husbands cannot be prosecuted for raping their wives. He sentenced women to death for being witches, and those whose misogyny stood out even in his time. Some of these views on women and those who can give birth are still present today, as you can see. The overturning has nothing to do with children or protecting life, but everything to do with control, misogyny, patriarchy, and sexism. That's right. Woo! And for all those Bible thumpers out there, fun fact, the Bible does not say anything about life starting at conception. It says that life starts at first birth in Genesis 2:7. The only time the Bible is mentioned, the only time the Bible mentions abortion is when it's describing when it should be done and how it should be handled and how it should be performed. In Numbers 5:11 to 31.
All right.
So for all those people,
so that was just some of the footage we got outside Alito's home. You could watch the whole video. It's up on the channel. So apparently Megyn Kelly and Piers Morgan don't like these kids out there, and older people too, and think apparently that is the equivalent of domestic terrorism. Let's hear Megyn and Piers.
I don't think I have that video.
Hold on, let me get it for you, because this one is just too good. All right, I just sent it to you. And by the way, this is Megyn Kelly. Was it you, Steve, I was talking to about this, who was having a connipshit over student loan and forgiveness? Yes. So Megyn Kelly, for the people that are, drowning in student loan debt, she had words for them because she paid back her student loan debt. And her mother worked very hard as a single mother, this and that. So why should you kids mooch off of me? Megyn Kelly didn't have the same standard for the bankers and all those people that mooched off of us. But in this case, they are very, very offended by these violent protesters outside. Let me know when we have it, Colin. The running the ad, blah, 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 blah. Ugh, News Nation. There we go.
the homes of our Supreme Court justices. First of all, these are dumbass protesters, Piers, because according to the reports, Chief Justice Roberts isn't even in the majority in this draft opinion. He might actually already be siding with the liberals. We're not sure where he is. So they're just dopes, right? So they just go to the Chief Justice's home for actually no reason. Justice Kavanaugh seems to be part of the majority, so they go to his house. He's got 2 young daughters. No one cares. Let's go ahead and scare them. There are other protests planned, including we're told at Amy Coney Barrett's house. She's got young children, including a 10-year-old who happens to have Down syndrome. Great idea to go to that house and scare the child. No problem. So to me, it's disgusting, and it's actually deeply problematic because I think it's an open attempt to intimidate a court that's currently adjudicating a really important matter. It's obvious intimidation, or at least attempted intimidation. You can make a very strong case that it's actually criminal for that reason. It's not just a normal protest. And our White House here continues to shrug it off like, oh, protest is a good thing. This is really just a run-of-the-mill protest. What do you make of it?
It's not a run-of-the-mill protest when you basically terrorize the senior judges of the country at their homes when they have young kids. That's a form of domestic terrorism that's going on. And you saw it in Wisconsin, I think, when an anti-abortion building was targeted overnight with a firebomb. It's completely outrageous behavior. This is domestic.
Yeah, let's compare, black and brown people peacefully outside the justice's home with tossing firebombs at a Planned Parenthood, because that's the same thing. It's beyond absurd. I also love, we should care about Brett Kavanaugh's 2 daughters who live there, but not, tens of millions of women whose lives are being threatened now. By the way, the people being threatened the most are poor women that can't afford abortions. Wealthier or more privileged people will find a way to get those services. But it's really incredible. And I got to tell you something. They were crickets about Standing Rock and indigenous protesters having their heads cracked, their skulls cracked at Standing Rock. Black Lives Matter protesters getting, maced and beaten in Ferguson and St. Louis and elsewhere. That's not terrorism by the police or by the state. Peaceful protest outside old white men's homes, old white men that are trying to dictate, not based on law, but based on their ideology and opinion. Because based on law, you don't have to be a legal expert. There's a doctrine in law. It's called stare decisis. And it basically says decisions are based on the previous decisions and patterns called precedent. And there is precedent that abortion should be safe and legal in this country. And these justices, Alito, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, they perjured themselves in their Supreme Court hearings, basically saying what I just said. Yeah, this is settled. And there's a lot of precedent. So your thoughts on apparently the domestic terrorism at play outside Alito's home?
I'm not going to wade into the morality of things. Women's bodies are their bodies. But as far as protest goes, which is really what this is about, I find it humorous that the same people had no problem when the conservatives, took on the Capitol and so forth. I find it fascinating that it's always very situational. It's like, partisan, games. Which team is? Oh, okay. Now we got to be upset about it. The fact of the matter is that the conservative Christians of this world, they really genuinely believe that abortion, because there's a passage in the Bible that says, I knew you when you were in the womb, or before you were in the womb, or something to that effect. So, and those people have a genuine belief that they're right. That has nothing to do with the right to protest. It has nothing to do with the right for people to stand out there and be heard, and to say, hey, listen, your laws are impacting my life. Your decision is impacting my ability to survive and thrive. So if they have a problem with that, they can go fuck themselves, quite frankly. I mean, that we are supposed to be supporting the ability to protest in this country. It is like one of the core things. If you believe the fake freedom we have, we are supposed to be able to assemble. We're supposed to be able to protest, and we should have a democracy that we feel like actually represents our views. I mean, SCOTUS and the Senate are very, very undemocratic institutions, extremely undemocratic institutions. Quite frankly, I think we should get rid of the Senate. And quite frankly, I see no real value in the Supreme Court. I think both of them should be gotten rid of. But as far as protests goes, I was telling people this way back when the January 6th stuff happened. Beware. You've created a situation by ginning this thing up too far, by over dramatizing your outrage over conservatives finally realizing what protest looks like. By doing that, you've now, in essence, put a gun to the head, and I've been using a lot of these gun to the head references today, haven't I? But a gun to the head, proverbially, of left-wing politics, of people that are fighting for regular people here. They've literally made it so that is going to be more and more and more clamped down on. Be ready. We did this to ourselves. Whoever was out there trying to gin this up did this to us, because now basic protest will always be, look, get them, go after them. They're terrorizing people.
Well, also, there's another element here outside of the protests, which I completely agree with you. Why should Supreme Court justices have the right to privacy? Why? I mean, and also, I think it's a good thing this was leaked. Frankly, I think it should be out in the open. The draft opinions, whether it's this or something with less stakes. Yeah, you could say devil's advocate. Well, they need to feel comfortable to share their opinions and this and that. No, they don't. Your opinions are impacting millions of people's lives, whether women's bodies or workers or whatever it is. I'm not advocating for violence, but if you want to be a Supreme Court justice, you don't have a right to. You shouldn't be harassed per se. But you don't have a right to never have a protest outside your home if you are setting decision not based on the law, because this is not about the law. They are literally reversing settled law based on ideology, and we know Kavanaugh's background and Coney Barrett, the Christian fundamentalists. So you don't have this right to privacy. Essentially, let's stop pretending that the Supreme Court isn't a political body. You have the same right to policy as politicians do. None. Now, does that mean attacking your family members or, being violent or getting on your doorstep? No. But at a safe distance outside your home, fair game. So cry me a fucking river for Samuel Alito, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett. And by the way, I would say the same thing. Republicans, if they want to protest outside Elena Kagan's home or Sotomayor's home, if you don't like something, a decision, by all means. But usually it's not. Usually Republicans are the ones taking it a step too far. This was a peaceful protest, and they have every right to do it. And I don't want to hear from Megyn Kelly. And by the way, CNN and MSNBC have been running with this too about, because they're the civility police. It's always, the civility. Well, I think it's pretty unfucking civil to threaten women's lives. I think it's pretty uncivil and violent to terrorize women. I think it's pretty uncivil to create situations where you're going to have back alley abortions like the good old days, and women are going to die. That's pretty uncivil. That's pretty violent. And that's terrorism to me. And you want to know something? I don't want to get all religious. Listen, pro-life movement, I'm sure some of them genuinely believe it. They don't seem to give a fuck about school children being mowed down. That's right. in schools. They seem to care very much about life in the womb. Once you're out of the womb, go fuck yourself. So that's why I have a problem with the whole pro-life movement, because I'm not religious. I do understand there's some religion behind it. But why is life sacred in the womb, but you don't want to call for any tighter gun control when children are being massacred all over the country? You don't seem to care, for COVID protections for children that can't get vaccinated. So there seems to be a little inconsistency about life and what stages of life we need to protect.
Well, let me just say this for the record. The reason why women get abortions, there's many reasons, obviously, but one of the overarching reasons people have abortions is because their economy sucks. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. There is no good work out there. There is no childcare. Childcare, it's like $2,000 a month for a kid to go to childcare. You better make a freaking fat stack of cash to be able to afford childcare. And then all the other things that go with that. This is not to say you shouldn't have kids. This is just to say, if you care about children, you create an environment and an economy, etc., that makes it flourish. Otherwise, you are literally hurting people. And I can't state this enough. This is why fascism rises up. This is why people have abortions. Just about every bad thing under the sun happens as a result of deficit reduction, of bad economics, and all the other bullshit with the inflation, the gouging, and all the other crap that we have been talking about this entire show. This is what it nets to. I mean, I didn't realize these two would work as well together as they are. But the fact is, folks, you have an economic problem that is generating a social condition. This social condition creates the battlefield. But the reality is, if you go back further and you stop getting sidetracked and you stay on the goddamn economic train and fix that, the downstream effects of that fix way back at the root will change the world immeasurably. Immeasurably. We got to stay focused on that. I'm telling you, that is the cause for this stuff.
And real quick, because Steve has to go make his children dinner, I want to move on because I can't resist. Let's play Pelosi on the Republican Party.
In the fossil fuel industry, they weigh in so significantly. I mean, how could it be that nobody on the Senate side cares, and the Senate cares about climate? Some of them do, and they talk about it. When it comes to the votes, it just isn't there. They just aren't there. So rather than saying, well, we have to defeat them, no, let's just try to persuade them. I want the Republican Party to take back the party. Take it back to where you were, where you cared about a woman's right to choose, you cared about the environment, and all. Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do. Not a cult, but a strong
I don't know if I missed the History Channel episode where Republicans at some stage were pro-choice and pro-environment. I mean, Nixon did create the EPA, so I'll give him that. Yeah. But Pelosi cares so much about the environment that she was the enforcer for this guy, Obama. Let's play that.
Way American energy production. You wouldn't always know it, but it went up every year I was president. And that whole suddenly America's like the biggest oil producer and the biggest that was me, people. I just want you to
So obviously, Democrats care so much about the environment that as the planet burns, Biden did not use his bully pulpit to force Joe Manchin either out as the Senate energy chairman, because he's a coal baron, literally running the committee that regulates the environment, which in most sane societies would be a gaping conflict of interest, or use his bully pulpit to say to Manchin, hey, your daughter, she's escaped prison for that price gouging. I might have to have my Department of Justice look into that. So obviously there were things Biden could do. But what's amazing to me, we don't need a strong Republican Party. We need a actual progressive party. That's what's missing here. She's not the only one. Other Democrats have waxed poetic about, the good old days of having a sane Republican Party. No, we need a populist, progressive alternative to the Democratic Party. Now we could get into it. Obviously, you know what I think about MPP. There is the Green Party, but it's just striking that they think the problem is not having a sane Republican Party.
You know what? I watch Pelosi and I watch her ilk. They are Republicans. If you remember, go back to I'm Bob Dole. These people were one and the same. They ate together. They played volleyball together, minus Bob Dole with his pen. They did a lot of things other than fight. They hung out. They golfed. They chatted. They were all friends. You see the people that showed up to John McCain's funeral. We're not talking about people that hate each other. We're talking about people of the same bend. They don't like the populist incursion on the right. And I don't blame them either. Who the hell likes fascists? But the point is that they want to bring the whole, we're the gentleman's club. Let's go play tennis at noon together kind of people, right? Let's go pheasant hunting or whatever the hell rich people do, you know? And they want that gang to come together to mitigate the fringe on the left and the fringe on the right. And they make it seem so common, so normal. Like, of course, we're trapped in the middle. These crazies on either side of us. The difference is that I don't believe the left is crazy. Jordan, I don't believe the left is crazy. If you go through issue by issue what we stand for, and you didn't tell anybody that we were lefties, you just said these are things we stand for, they'd be like, yeah, I'm with you. You tell them, hey, I'm a lefty, and all of a sudden people lose their mind. Tell them I'm a communist, tell them I'm a socialist, tell them whatever, and then, wow, the head explodes. But the fact is that all these things that we stand for, they're common sense things. They're things that regular people would benefit from. There's nothing regular about Nancy Pelosi. The woman has twin sub-Zs. She's got Viking ranges. She is living La Vida Loco. Like literally got the best of everything. She hasn't got a clue what regular people want or need. And neither do the Republicans, quite frankly. But you see the fringe. The fringe is bad because the fringe is really, really pushing that Nazi fascist kind of, 3%er belief system. And that is dangerous. Let's not fool ourselves. It's very fucking dangerous. But we have to realize that these guys, I believe that they're actors. I believe it's political theater. I believe that gang literally is going to have, a nice meal together as soon as that press conference is over or whatever. They'll be hanging out. They'll be doing things that friends do, homies do, playing cards. They're not, it's not a real thing, man. I just hate her. I can't stand her.
Before we get to super chats, Steve, plug your shit. Where could people find Real Progressives and all the great stuff you're doing?
So definitely check out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. I do a show called the Rogue Scholar, play on Rogue Scholar. And that's at noon Eastern time. And then on Saturdays, I do a podcast called Macro and Cheese. And if you check out our podcast, we have the best and brightest that understand the economics you hear me frequently talk about on this program. Definitely check it out. And of course, Thursday nights, let's get ready to grumble. Very much appreciate the Vine, Jordan. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad it's been a while, man. I did miss you, man. I was like, where's Jordan? I don't know where Jordan is. I miss Jordan.
So we'll see Steve. Back. We'll see Steve on Thursday, 5:00 Eastern. Let's get ready to grumble. Looking forward to it. Thanks for doing it. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Take care, everybody.
Sure. Let me get to your super chats here. Tony Dallas, $5. Donate to ALU Fund. $20 is the best middle finger to Jeff Bezos. Great work, Jordan. Love to see Steve on the stream too. Thank you. We love Steve here. Macarius, $2. Quote, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Tony Dow, it's $5. Question for Steve: is this still murder if the deficit is reduced by raised taxes on the rich, stock trades, or a wealth tax? Thank you. Steve answered that a little while ago. Big Dumb Animal, $5. Why, thank you. D Nord, $20. Thank you, D. Mad Ocelot God, $10. Are you aware of the degrowth movement? Best answer to climate crisis. We know this because Earth's best years were 8, 9, and 2020 when the economy ate shit. Look up Jason Hickel and Susan Paulson. I will do that. And I'm not aware of the degrowth movement if you want to email me about it. info@statuscoup.com. info@statuscoup.com. Would love to know more. Chris, $5. Bill O'Reilly doxed Dr. George Tiller on national television, kept calling him Tiller the baby killer. Dr. Tiller got murdered and no one had outrage over that. Damn it, I wish I read that while we were talking about that. I completely forgot about that. You were so right. Yeah. Bill O'Reilly helped basically dox Dr. Tiller to death. Lana Del hates the clock, $5. No joke. A woman from New Zealand said on Nick Hanauer chat last week that each woman gets $100 a week until they are 18. Interesting. My answer, although I personally would suffer from it, if women collectively had a sex strike in this country for even a week, yeah, you would see things change lickety split as far as upholding Roe v. Wade. Just saying. Double K 1999. Thank you very much. Mark Fabian, $10. Steve Grumbine and Jordan are a great match. I'm so glad they are together. Why, thank you. And by the way, what I mean by that is the men would not be able to take that. Men would not go. A sex strike, forget it. Men would really quickly stop trying to dictate to women what to do with their bodies. Thank you so much for watching. Glad to be live again. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Remember to join our text list, statuscoup.com/text. That way you'll get a text message when we're live, because YouTube does not notify you a lot of the times we are live. So that's statuscoup.com/text. It's free, and you'll get a text message when we're live. And consider joining us as a member, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. We have other membership options. We're going to do our members call, our monthly members call through Zoom, probably next week in the evening. We usually do an hour or two on Zoom, answer your questions, comments, concerns. We'll have a lot of behind the scenes to share from my reporting in Cleveland, covering Nina Turner's race, which she unfortunately lost. You also get access to our members only Discord and other behind the scenes videos. We did a few behind the scenes videos for members while we're on the road. So join us, statuscoup.com/text. I don't know. Oh, I wish I had my phone, because we got a couple members yesterday and today, but I'll give shout outs tomorrow. And thank you. Just got another super chat. Katrina Martin, 1999. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow.